It's nice to have you join us on this morning, your program and the one we run daily. My name is Eshomomo Imodu, and I'll be taking us through some issues, talking about the anti-corruption fight of this present government, talking about President Muhammadu Buhari's anti-corruption fight, the strategies put in place, and also the committee appointed by Mr. President, that is the Presidential Advisory Committee on Anti-Corruption. And I have in the studio with me the chairman of that particular committee in person of Professor Ise Sage. Prof, nice to have you join us on this morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, let's start this way. The Presidential Committee. Now, what exactly have you been able to put in place between when it was announced to the public and now? I'm not aware that you've been formally inaugurated, but I know that you have started work. So what have you been able to put in place for Mr. President so far?
Well, I cannot be specific in terms of saying we've done this and we've done that. First, let me say we're a deliberative body. We're not an executive body, we're not going to arrest anybody and prefer charges and prosecute and so on. We are deliberative, we are advisory. And we are looking at the whole gamut of the anti-corruption fight. There's no limitation to the extent of what we can look at. And what we do is to look at it and see ways in which it could be improved, in which the record and performance of the agencies actually involved in the direct action, so to speak, can be improved. And the law that controls the administration of criminal law in this country, and therefore controls the prosecution of corruption, how that too can be made more efficient and more effective. Those are the things we are doing. And I can give you a few examples of the way our minds are working. For example, if you look at an agency like the FCC or the ICPC or even the DSS, the sort of questions we ask is, what are your challenges?
Okay.
What challenges do you have? Is it in terms of equipment to improve your capacity? Is it in terms of skilled manpower? Is it in terms of finance? Is it in terms of training? Even is it in terms of integrity within the system, so that the people within the system who are not living up to expectations in terms of character and performance, that sort of thing, we're working on that. And naturally, we will make contact with them comprehensively and have discussions with them.
Okay. Before your committee came on board, yes, and now, let me go back to it again. Some persons might want to find out that of what essence is the committee, or what was it that was in place, and probably the government felt that, look, we need this body of experts to help us out in our fight. Most of people say that the vice president is a senior advocate of Nigeria, so so why do you need a committee? Because in time past we used to have this, that Nigeria is a nation with so many committees. Now, what exactly are those reasons you think the president brought you on board to help him out in the fight against corruption?
We are a coordinating body. Those who are directly involved in the day-to-day struggle against corruption don't have enough time to reflect. Okay. In order to totally reposition that struggle to make it more effective. So we are doing that. We have the capacity to do that, given the type of people in our committee. All right, for example, you know that there are quite a number of cases that have not seen the light of day.
Exactly.
There's been commencement, there is no end, they have all been suspended. We're looking at all those. Why have they been suspended? What is causing the delay? How can we now revive them? Then again, if you look at the whole question of injunctions, perpetual injunctions and so on, people actually obtaining injunctions from courts to restrain various agencies from doing their jobs, constitutional jobs, legal jobs for which they've been established. We're looking at all those, and we intend to revive all those matters because those injunctions are illegal, they're unconstitutional.
But they were given by courts.
By courts who are either ignorant or deliberately mischievous. And one of the statements we are going to make publicly, but I can say it on a personal basis here, is that we are going to advise that any judge who issues an injunction to restrain the police, the DSS, EFCC or ICP or any of those agencies from investigating, from interrogating, from arresting and prosecuting a person suspected of having committed a corrupt act, such a judge will be regarded as being guilty of gross misconduct.
Would that be able to hold water in the light of the Constitution? Is it not the right of should I say accused now to approach the court when he feels that, look, my right is being infringed on? Don't a person have a right under the Constitution to approach a court that, look, I need some protection from me? Now, if the judge decides to give the person such protection, now, shouldn't that agency of government also look for a higher court to vacate it? So if they've not vacated that order, do you hold the judge responsible for an order he gave?
No, you are mixing up two legs.
Okay.
Anybody can approach a court for anything, no matter how ridiculous. All right? But the court has a responsibility to dismiss ridiculous and illegal requests. The appellate courts have held again and again that no Nigerian is entitled to be protected from investigation and interrogation and arrest for anything he is suspected of. So what those courts are doing is illegal. It's contrary to their oaths of office. Because what they are doing is that they are compromising the struggle against corruption. We regard that as an act of gross misconduct, which should be brought to the attention of the NJC.
Let me just bring this again because you are an expert in law. If a high court, for instance, issue a perpetual injunction to somebody, can't the appeal courts overturn that injunction?
Of course it can.
Now, why has it been difficult? For instance, the EFCC, certain individual who had a perpetual injunction for several years ago, nobody has taken the liberty of going to a superior court to vacate that order. Now, is it because of this corruption we're talking about that even some of these investigative agencies that are supposed to be responsible in fighting corruption also have are also riddled with some elements of corruption? Is it because of this and everybody just keep quiet and as if the High Court decision is the law?
You just made the point about the relevance of our committee, because we are looking into all of this and we are going to revive all of them. There are all sorts of reasons that people are compromised, even those who are supposed to be prosecuting the case against corruption. Some of them are compromised, obviously. Some at various levels. I'm not going to mention all the levels, where people refrain from doing what they should do and allow matters to slide into in a level of suspense and indecision, and things go on as if no process has been started. We have all that. We have all that. But this committee is going to look into all that. We're going to look at past cases, why they failed, We're going to look at existing cases that are slow and try and rev things up and get everything back on course. And certainly the issue of perpetual injunctions is something we are going to fight against, and we are determined to put a stop to it. We are going to make all the contacts necessary at the highest level to make sure that any judge who issues that sort of injunction is also risking his career in the process.
Well, let me bring this in. What amount of confidence does your committee enjoy with the president? I'm saying this with, we used to have a situation in this country where a president told the nation that, look, told his appointees that, look, yours is to advise. I'm not bound by your decisions, by your advice. Now, if you have such a scenario where, yeah, it's an advice, might not be bound by it, but what level of confidence do you enjoy that you think that the advices you push out to the president or to this government will be utilized because the president has confidence in the people they've assembled?
To start with, none of us appointed ourselves. In fact, virtually all of us had no idea that the plan for this type of committee was on. This is something that came from the presidency. So they needed a committee like this. They selected the people who constitute the committee. Obviously, they must have confidence in those people. And we have to presume that unless they have a very, very good reason, they will also tend to accept and implement our advisories.
Okay, let's go back to this. The over time there was this issue that the anti-corruption fight of this government, that a lot of let me just use the word for that, a lot of noise on the piece of paper, what we want to do, and people were saying that we've not seen you go to court. You just keep saying this is what you want to do. These people are corrupt, but this is what you want to do. Now, we saw one just last week, the Senate President taken to court. This development, is it as a result of the inputs made that, look, yeah, you might have what you want to do about fighting corruption, but until you begin to take appropriate steps, the people will think that, look, it's just mere propaganda. Is it part of your advice that, look, if you have evidence against an individual, go ahead, go to court with it?
No. Certainly this particular issue of the Saraki case did not emanate from our committee. Okay. I think this fight is being carried on so many levels. So it's not just our committee. But what we are trying to do is to avoid rushing to court with insufficient evidence, because that's one of the
rushing to court with
insufficient evidence. That's one of the problems we have observed, and so some of the things we're going to do is actually to create a situation, to create to organize. Let me put it that way, such a way that prosecutors are actually prepared properly, are taught how to prosecute effectively before they actually engage to go and prosecute cases.
So it's not an issue of arrest, then
yes,
begin to investigate.
Yes, it's not arrest and then investigate. No,
okay.
It's the other way around.
Okay.
We're taking actions to improve the capacity to investigate, and also to improve the knowledge and process of the prosecutors in prosecution, so that when they actually get into the court, they are almost certain of getting a conviction. Yes.
Okay. Let's look at this aspect of the administration of criminal justice, the one that was just that was passed into law by the last administration.
Yes.
Of what relevance is this procedure to your committee under the fight against corruption in Nigeria? Of what relevance?
Oh, it's of the absolutely great relevance. There's no question about it. It's almost revolutionized the law on prosecution. Let me give you a few examples of the changes which this new act has brought. One, if a case is filed against anybody, criminal case, but for us, as far as we are concerned, corruption, A senior advocate cannot now go there and file a preliminary objection, which will now be the subject matter of the court's attention, and then will be now taken at that level for the next 2 years to the exclusion of the substantive issue, going up to the Court of Appeal, Supreme Court for the next 10 years, such that by the time the case comes back for actual prosecution, witnesses have disappeared, evidence is tenuous, there is prosecution fatigue, all that is gone. Under the new law, if you bring a preliminary objection, the court or the judge is compelled to take both the preliminary objection and the substantive issue together. Together? Yes. Deal with it and then let it go upstairs if necessary.
I'll come back to you. I want us to quickly go on a short break. We'll be right back. Please do stay with us.